Oh boy, the moon is red and the community is furious. Welcome in everyone, Crucible here with another DBD video, and I want to talk about the current Blood Moon event and how its issues tie in with the community's current biggest boogeyman. It's 2025 and the Blood Moon event is here. This time, the event is gas. Well, not really. It's just blood. Lots and lots of blood. This year, they decided to switch things up a bit and introduced a brand new type of generator, the Blood Gen. Instead of repairing these bad boys like you would a normal generator, you need to find these little blood station pumps around the map. Fill it up with a magically appearing canister and bring it to one of the glow-in-the-dark signs around the map. It will take a solo person roughly 2.5 to 2 3/4 of a canister to fill up a gen itself. Not a whole lot, right? You're probably thinking, these gens must be incredibly fast to fill. And for the most part, you'd be absolutely right. Behavior attempted to counter this issue by forcing the player to have to run to these blood stations, fill up the canisters, and then walk back, thus increasing the time it takes to actually get these generators done. Now, all of this sounds great on paper, but the implementation is surprisingly horrible. Let's start with the easiest to notice issue: spawn locations. The actual spawn locations for these blood stations are ridiculously varied map by map. On certain maps like the game, it's not uncommon to have the blood stations be located upstairs and away from any gen. Meanwhile, in other matches, you could run across a blood station that is sitting right next to a gen, putting huge pressure on the killer to actively prevent a gen's completion. Moving on from the terrible spawn locations, the blood canisters themselves have their own issues. The idea seems to be that behavior intends for you to walk to the gens once you actually have filled the canisters, but that, for the most part, is completely unnecessary. Even if you are filling a gen solo, since you would need roughly 3 canisters to complete a single gen anyways, you can run with canisters directly from the station with little loss of actual blood. Now on longer treks due to bad spawns, you may be forced to walk, but in most cases, you're free to run. And lastly, we have the gens. Wonderful idea, horrible implementation for both sides. When you fill up a gas canister, you are given an aura of the closest generator. There are more of these on the map than there are normal generators, so you'll likely not have to be trekking far. Once you're there, you will receive a wonderful 100 blood points for emptying a canister. Behavior, in a moment of development genius, tied all these blood points to the completion of the generator. No longer do you get blood points tied to your portion of the completed generator. If you are not there physically pouring blood into the generator when the generator is completed, you will get nothing. Zilch. Nada. Were you forced off the gen into a chase by the killer when it's at 99%? Get you 70% of gen and then get hooked, only for another survivor to follow up and complete it behind you? Zero reward. Beyond feeling incredibly unrewarding, what I've noticed is that this has forced survivors to actually gen rush more and be less altruistic, as not being there when a gen is finished effectively made the game worse than normal mode for Bloodpoint game. Likewise, killers, this event is at best a standard game with no additional interaction, but a little bit of a Bloodpoint boost, or a gen rushing stomp. Behavior wanted a clean data set on these gens. As such, made it so gen perks do not work on them, on both the killer and survivor side. However, they also designed it in such a way that killer powers do not work on gens. You can still kick them, but that is the limit to what a killer can do to regress or slow them down. This means nerfs for killers like Freddy, who teleports to gens, the Unknown, who just had his ability to place clones next to them removed, and Pig, whose head traps aren't even turned on by these gens. This has led to a community that is annoyed and frustrated towards an event many people have been looking forward to. But there are ways to enjoy this event. For survivors, it's simply a matter of decorum and respect for your fellow survivors. If 2 of you are working on a blood gen, you see them finish and run to go get more blood, you can actually finish the gen yourself, Simply wait for them to come back. If you know that person on the hook has been the one who has spent all their time on that gen, try to get them off and try to give them the opportunity to finish that gen. The only way we meet the event goals this year is if survivors forego the main character syndrome and work together. We don't want people quitting the game mode simply because, well, we don't get the blood points that we need, and it's better to just go play the normal game mode. Killers have also found their meta for the event, and for many killer mains, it is going to be something that greatly frustrates the survivors. Let's not lie, in Dead by Daylight, mobility is king. Right now, the Ghoul is the most popular and easiest to use high mobility character in the game. If a killer main has any intention of actually playing serious and winning the match, you are likely going to be playing against a Ghoul, a Billy, or a Blight. I would say Nurse, but like, I don't ever see you guys anymore. The speed of the game has necessitated a killer gameplay that focuses on speed and pressure. But did you guys know there are some sneaky alternatives for this event? For you killer mains bored of the rushing meta, I present to you Singularity, Cenobite, and the Onryo. It's time to shine. For those unaware, blood canisters are an item that the survivors have to carry around, negating any brought in items or found items. This means that killer powers that force the same interaction, that is, blocking the survivors from picking up an item due to needing them to counter the killer's power, can slow the game down tremendously for survivors. Because remember, most of the gens in the mode are these blood gens. Let me wrap things up by saying, I think that Behavior had an interesting idea with the blood gens, and they are something I would like to see tweaked, adjusted, and brought back in the future. Right now, on the survivor side, we can only hope that they do some adjustments to the gen completion event. To make things fairer for killers, I would like to see a much better refined spawning system for the blood pumps, and a larger rate of loss on the blood canisters when running, so that running or setting the canister down is a much harsher choice than it is now. Hopefully, Behavior will adjust the event soon, but until then, stay safe in the fog, everyone.